oceans apart. I keep sailing till we're on the same land. If there's no end to our start, I'll keep hold of it with both hands. Just say what's on your mind, 'cause I can't cope with false hope and pain. Am I wasting my time if I know you don't feel the same, the same? Let's find a common emotion, something we both can feel. Let's dive, sink and drown in devotion, so know that this is real, 'cause I want to feel common emotion. Ooh, common emotion. Ooh, common emotion. Ooh, common emotion. Ooh, the dark as the sky, but my fears shine ironically. I've tried to unwind, but I'm struck.
If you don't know, we're going to be talking about female empowerment and women in industry. So basically just being a woman, how to navigate the industry as a woman, and also just debunking like annoying myths and annoying questions about, oh, what's it like to be a woman? We're going to actually talk about, you know, just doing it, going for it, and there's no better people to tell you about that than these lovely people here. So do you want to start introducing yourselves?
Hi.
And what you do?
Hi everyone, my name's Danai. I run my own management company.
Hi, my name's Antonia. I am a music editor of an online platform and I produce radio shows as well.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm an actor and I also produce in film.
I'm Chidi, popularly known as Slumflower, and I'm an award-winning blogger, writer, and a speaker.
Hi, my name is Kelly. I'm an actress. I'm one of the founding members of the Arts Kickers Awards. I teach yoga, I do a million different things. I've cleaned houses and looked after kids. I'm an actress, so I do everything.
I'm Sharmaine Lovegrove and I'm a publisher of Dialogue Books, which is an imprint where we publish books from people with unheard voices, so BAME, LGBTQI+, disability and working class communities.
Thank you so much, guys. So I think the first thing I really want us to get into is representation and having a seat at the table. How do we encourage this? How do we get a seat at the table? How do we promote representation and make sure that we maintain doing that in a way that benefits everyone? And I think it would be great to start with Sharmaine, who works in publishing and is actually doing it. She's out here making serious changes in the publishing world. So Sharmaine, how important do you think representation is, first of all?
It's incredibly important, especially in the creative arts. I think it's really important for people to see themselves reflected in the story, to know that they can do anything. And I'm the only black publisher of fiction in corporate publishing. I'm the only person that runs an imprint in corporate publishing. So, you know, to be at the table for me is like hugely important, and I hope is really empowering for the next generation. And when people can see that I could do it, then hopefully they can see that they could do it as well. But I think the most important thing for me in that journey is kind of understanding of how to have an expertise and not just running a business or being part of a community or culture for the sake of it. It's like my foundation is around storytelling and my obsession with books. And then from that, I built businesses myself, and now as a publisher, I can use that expertise to kind of hone in on what I think is important, which is representation.
In regards to you guys as well, thank you for that brilliant answer, by the way. How have you guys managed to achieve representation in your chosen fields as well? Who wants to go first?
Okay, I will. gal-dem is the publication which I am a music editor of. It's an online magazine and it's written, run and controlled by young women of colour. And I think where the sort of idea for its inception sort of came about by our editor-in-chief, Liv Little, we were all at university together in Bristol, which is, the university is really middle class, really white, which is something that we both were not. And I think reading a lot of texts and speaking to a lot of people who we couldn't really connect with on that sort of level because we don't identify with them, and not seeing enough people that look like us around sort of made me enter this phase of like becoming woke and starting to understand the reasons why people need representation. Because before that, living in my bubble in East London, I didn't realise until I came out of it like why it's very necessary and why you need to see people that look like you in order to think that you can strive towards something. And I think that through gal-dem we've been able to hopefully reach people who, like us or unlike us, don't have that sort of circle at home where they can look around and see everyone that looks like them. So yeah.
Completely agree with you. I feel like as a woman as well, I don't like feeling as though it's a big deal for me to be involved in something, because anything that's a skill is something that can be taught, which means that it can be learned by anyone. As long as you have a functional brain, you can learn it. So I feel like the world is in this really strange place right now where it's over celebrating and over praising men for including women in conversations and activities that they should have been included in from the beginning anyway. And that leads to my next my next direction now, which is gender pay gap, and it's been quite a big conversation recently. I don't know if you've seen on Twitter. It happened with, I think, an actress called Octavia Butler and her female co-star, who's a white woman. I can't remember her name. But what happened was her white co-star was being paid a lot more for her role, but Octavia wasn't being paid as much. So what she did was that she joined their contracts together to make sure that they both get paid equally. And that is an example of how women can work together to help each other, especially when one woman has less privilege than the other. Because I don't believe that all women are treated equally in the world. I mean, from the moment you're born, of course we all should be equal, but that's not the way society views us. So it's important that if you want to be an ally, you have to actually figure out what you can do the best way possible to help someone. And I think that is so important. That moment is really, really important. And I'm glad that happened. And as an actor, do you feel like when you're offered a role or when you are about to go for a role, do you now feel more conscious about, you know, money and trying to almost, it's weird because money's a weird one, like figuring out is someone being paid more for this or?
Money is, I think, and maybe it is, I think we're all kind of raised with the thing of it's rude to talk about money or you don't talk about money or whatever, or maybe it's an Irish thing, I can only speak for myself. But it's tricky because, and I think particularly as women, we're a little bit backwards about coming forwards and going, well, how much is he getting paid? And you do have to do that. And I think particularly, you know, I can, again, only speak for myself as a white cis woman. It is on us, we have a role to play in asking those questions and making sure that people are getting what they should be getting and that we are on a par. And because it is, our business, I cannot imagine what it would be like. I find it hard as a woman being an actress. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be a black woman, to be a gay woman, to be a woman of any minority whatsoever. And it does, like, if you have those little voices in your head going, but it doesn't really happen, and the gender pay gap doesn't really happen, it happens. And racism happens. I read for a part last year with a very famous casting director. She's an American woman, and I was really nervous going into it. And it was clearly written for a black woman. Very, very clearly. To the extent of, she actually, a guy comes to attack her and she says the line, Black Lives Matter. Like, she says it. And I remember going, I can't read this, I cannot, but I can't say to her that I can't read this because my agent is going to kill me and I have to go, and oh Jesus, what am I going to do? And it was really hard to actually do that and go, sorry. And I went in and I said, look, her name, I'm really sorry, I can't read this. It's clearly written for a black woman. And she, I don't know, like, did she know, whatever way she played it, she went, oh my God, I'm really sorry, I didn't realize, really? God, no, I'm sure, that must be a mistake, no, I'm so sorry about that. And it was like, yeah, like, it does, it happens, and it's really hard actually to go, I'm not going to get this job. And one thing, as a white actress, if somebody of a different colour, a different race, whatever it may be, gets a part and you don't, you cheer, like you raise the roof. Because if you don't, if you're sitting there, me, we're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it just, there are more important things than getting the job. There are just more important things than getting the job. And I think that if we as women set that precedent with ourselves, it starts to feed into gender pay gap, because then you find that every woman around you starts going, what's he getting paid? What are you getting paid? We're the ones that have to start it, because nobody wants to have the conversation.
No one wants to be accountable.
So we have to start, nobody wants to be accountable. So we have to start, and we have to be the ones to stand up and go, not on my watch. And maybe it means I'm not going to get paid as much.
Yeah.
But it's bigger picture stuff. And that is, I think, empowerment. It's when you're looking at the bigger picture rather than going, my next job or my next thing or my next whatever. I don't know, maybe it's just like, clean a house.
It helps, I think, even if you go further with female audiences and what they are supporting, and if you're supporting females within film and theatre, whatever, you are promoting what the world wants to see. For example, because I went up for a job in a similar idea, well, I was offered a job and I knew how much the men were being paid, and it was to go, it was sort of like I'm in a TV show, and it was to promote the TV show, almost like a convention. And I knew how much the men were being paid, and I was being offered significantly less to go and do the same 3 days of work as them. And it was my agent saying, this is not worth it, this is not good enough, and it's got a lot to do with the fact that it's female audiences watching it that are, they are the ones saying we want to see the men, rather than saying we want to see the women. And I think it's important that you say, we want to see women as well. I saw a girl recently tweet saying, can we please make, is it Oceans? What is the Oceans one?
Oceans 11 Oceans.
Yes, the all females saying, can we try and make it one of the highest grossing films of this year? Because it's all women. So if you promote it, then the world sees it, and it's money. Like that's what they put money into.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to go out and search. Find out who are the women, who are the big players doing big things in the industries that you want to get into. I was fortunate enough to have a big sister who works in the music. My background is in music industry, but my sister also works in the industry, so already I had that kind of foundation behind me to give me the advice, to learn from her experiences. So even if you don't have a family member or any friends, that you go and search LinkedIn, stalk them, send emails and say, look, this is what I want to get into, how do I do it? I'm really inspired by your work, and meet up for coffee, offer to, take an hour out of their time to talk, and their experiences can kind of guide you in where you want to go. And I just think that we as women need to stick together, form a WhatsApp group.
A giant global WhatsApp group.
Yeah, and talk about the issues that you face, and you'd be surprised. It's the same stories, the same experiences. So,
yeah, so many important points have been made on this panel, and I want to echo on from what Kelly said. And what I took from what you said is, just because you can doesn't necessarily mean that you should. Now, something happened to me this morning actually, which is so relevant to this conversation right now. I received an email from my agent, which was forwarded to me, and it was from like a big casting director at Channel 4, and they have this new show that they're working on, and it's an acting role. Now, I'm not an actress in any way whatsoever. It's an acting role, and they want me to speak in an American accent. They're asking me to, record myself, reciting the script. And I just thought, this is really weird, because I'm not an actor, but I've been approached with something like this, and obviously that's because there's some sort of privilege I've got here that has allowed me to have this access, and it's because I've got a large audience. I'm a black woman, but I'm a light-skinned black woman, so that gives me a lot more access as well. And what I took from that is, obviously I'm not taking that role, there's no way I'm doing that, I'm going to embarrass myself. One, I'm going to embarrass myself, I can't act. But number two, I think it will be a stab in the back to another woman who looks like me, thinks like me, and feels like me, who wants something like this, who's been working for this for so long. And for someone like me who has no interest in acting whatsoever to take a role like that, it will be insulting. And I think it's really important that if you're in a position where something has been offered to you and you know that you can't give it what you know someone else can, give it to that person and let them do it. And you'll be surprised that by choosing to give and by choosing to support other people, you're welcoming blessings into your own life, because you're literally emptying your hands to receive something else for yourself. And it's really important also to know when to stop and to know when to say no, because we're in an industry where stuff just comes at you sometimes. Like, you get opportunities just flying in your face, and what defines you and what actually shapes your career is the amount of no's you get and the amount of no's you actually say. Because if you say yes to everything and if you take part in everything, you start to lose more and more of yourself. But also hearing no, being told no, gives you a sense of perspective, a sense of drive, and a reason to work hard. And also, like, it's important to believe as well that you're not going to be as good at so many things. Like, it's okay to not be good at stuff, and it's important to be told that you're not good at stuff so you can learn that you're not good at stuff. Because if everyone around you is telling you you're so good at this, then are you really learning? Are you really around people that are going to stimulate you and allow you to grow and allow you to correct yourself and allow you to be more self-aware? And it's just important as women that we are uniting, not just by saying women empowerment and buying t-shirts that say the future is female. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about, because I feel like women empowerment right now is being commercialized so much in a way where we're starting to forget why we even started this. And why we started was because we're tired of being silenced. there's no such thing as someone that hasn't got a voice. I think it's someone that's just being silenced. That's it. Someone is speaking louder than someone else. And I think it's important that we all individually recognize where we're in positions where we are being louder than other people and being like, hold on a minute, am I silencing that person's experience because I've never been there before? In the same way we feel like how men treat us, we should be conscious of how we treat each other within the group of being women, because there are so many various groups of women. So I feel as a woman who is going for everything that she wants to go for, the one piece of advice that I would have for any woman is just, before anything, before your craft, before researching, before reaching out to people, all these things are really important. Before all of that, know yourself and know why you want to do it, because that will always be what you refer to in anything that you're doing. You always refer to yourself, and you always refer to the reason that you started, because those two things will give you the foundation to build and the foundation to pivot, the foundation to change your mind, because there'll be so many times when you change your mind, but what matters is that you know who you are and you know why you want to do what you want to do, and that reason has to be a reason that feeds your soul and doesn't involve anybody else at all. What about you guys? What advice would you have for someone who wants to go for something, but they're kind of in that transitional place right now where they don't know what to do next?
I've just been interviewing lots of people for a role as editorial assistant to work with me, and it's been really interesting to kind of watch be part of that process, but not as the interviewer rather than the interviewee. And so we had 668 applicants, which is the highest that the company had ever received. And considering that's one of the biggest publishing houses in the world, that's just quite a lot of people for one job. And then we had a short list of 15, and a long list of 15, and then a short list of 5. And it was just such a fascinating process, because the two imprints that they'd be working for are completely different. There's mine, which is kind of very independent and very much about new voices, and then the other, which is a really big imprint that's very commercially driven and has people like, they publish people like J.K. Rowling, and they publish Val McDermid, and just like really big names in that area. And it was so interesting how we had to, I wanted to ring every single person whose CV I went through and each cover letter, because I was like, I just want to give them like individual tips on what they could do better. And sometimes I think the biggest bit of advice, or that I could see from coming from that, is think about why you want to do the job that you want to do, or the role that you're going for. Think about not just always centering yourself and your own experience, as part of that process, but also thinking about what you can bring to it, not just about what you've learned, but what you can bring to it, and also a bit of humility about what the role could teach you. And also, don't be afraid to work out if it really is the best thing for you. Even if you see an opportunity, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right fit, and that we as a company or as an employer, we have to be there as much. We have to be the right fit for you as much as you have to be the right fit for us. And we're not more powerful because we're the company that can pay the money. Actually, what we need, your expertise and like your work ethic and your vision and your creativity to help us to do what we need to do. And so you have a lot of agency. So it's a really strange balance of it's the most bizarre kind of Venn diagram of agency, of humility, of ability, of creativity. Like there's lots of different things that this one person managed to get the job. And I think I was really interested in this process. And I really wanted to, I have actually been calling quite a lot of people and saying, if you did this differently, if you did that, and like good luck next time, and just like keep going and power on. But sometimes also taking yourself outside of that and realizing like the reasons that you weren't right, and that it might not just be because you're a woman or you're someone of color, and giving, and I really want people to understand, especially that as a woman, and especially as a woman of colour, that you're adding something different to the conversation, and that it's so valid, and that you never, ever, ever have to excuse yourself for being who you are. And as a British Jamaican, I just feel like I'm so lucky. And when people tell me about their privilege as like being nice white middle class women from the home counties or something, I'm like, but you're not Jamaican as well. Like that must be really hard for you, because I really love my duality of culture. I love that I can also speak fluent German, and that I know like me and chicken, and also reggae and all the rest of it, but I also love scones, and I have
multifaceted.
Yeah, and you know that's what makes me great, and I've never ever apologized for that. So that would be my advice.
Thank you. What about you, Kelly?
I think there's so much truth in that, and like what I hear in that is, like, you know, when you think about empowerment, the most empowering thing you can do is arrive empowered. Because no matter who you are, like men aren't like kicking around waiting for somebody to permit them to be brilliant. We are like devils.
That's some tea right there.
Like, but I need you to make me enough. I need you to validate me. And it's a really deeply personal thing as well. Like, I think like in therapy talk, it would be like you do the work, whatever the work might be. That I think, particularly in any creative business, because exactly as Sharmaine said, that they're like, I know for a fact, I have friends who are casting directors, I know from jobs myself, you walk in the door and in the first 5 minutes, less, they know if you're right for it or not as an actor. So it's slightly different. And it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with how you look or how you sound or whatever it might be. It might be, you know, I know a friend of mine worked on the Twilight films, casting them, and the brief was, get every boy who's ever been in the Harry Potter films, get him in. And pretty much. Yeah. So like sometimes it does come in, and I've had it. You know, I will miss out on jobs because I'm not famous enough, or because I don't have enough social media followers, or whatever that might be. But my mother used to say it: "What's for you shall not pass you by."
My mum says that.
Yeah, and it's a huge thing to really like take it in and believe it, and that work is done away from this space. It's done like crying in the toilet to yourself, going, why are they not giving it to me? It's done sitting around with your friends, because our business, if you look on our business to empower you, you will get hurt. It is not a way, it doesn't feed your soul, your gut. And it's so attractive when you meet somebody within it, because, you know, I'm 30 now, and I've only found in the last year it's extraordinarily appealing when you just arrive and you're just yourself, and there's nothing to cut through, and the right people want that, the right people for you. And the fact is, I don't want to work with bigots or racists or old crones or people who aren't going to pay me enough. And arriving, being able to go, you're a bit gross, I don't particularly want to work for you, that's empowering. Yeah. Being able to say no is empowering. Like, I had it recently on a job. I filmed a thing last year, and the show was known for having nudity in it. And on the day I was filming this scene, that the director, on the first day we had sat down, we talked about it, and we'd agreed there was no nudity. There was a bit of stuff happening, but there was no nudity, and it was very clear, we explicitly went through it. And on the day that we were filming it, the producer came in, and he was this young, very green man, came in and said, oh, I'm really sorry, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, yeah, of course. And then he got really angry, and he like cleared the room. He's like, everyone just get out. And he wouldn't look me in the eye. He stood there like wringing his hands, looking at the ground, going, I'm really sorry, but we actually have a nudity quota in this show, and
nudity quota?
A nudity quota.
I've never heard of that in my life.
A nudity quota.
That's because you're not an actress.
You just wait.
That's how you know I'm not an actor.
All is coming. And I'm really sorry, but I'm going to need you to take your top off in the next scene.
What? I'm really sorry, but I'm going to need to take
I'm
top
going
off.
to need you to take your top off in the next scene. As an actual sentence. That's an actual thing that happened while I was away on a job in Budapest by myself, with no friends over there, I don't speak the language over there, none of that. And also, I hadn't had a job in 7 months. So I was terrified that I couldn't pay my rent, that I was going to lose this job, that I was going to get sacked. And if I had been straight out of drama school, or if I was any less sure of myself and who I was and what I believe and what I stand for, and any less, yes, empowered, I would have done it. Because I would have been too afraid to do anything else, because there is a powerful man surrounded by other powerful men, and also, to their shame, 2 other very powerful women going, sorry, nudity quota, And I just said no. I just stood there and I said, that's not happening. I spoke to the director on the first day, that's not what's happening. To which he replied, well, you signed a waiver. Again, if I was any less green and any less sure of myself, I would have just agreed to it. And I don't know, you're going to have to go back and read through that, because it says any changes to the scene must be approved by the artist prior to filming, which is always, by the way, remember that. There is nothing wrong with the nudity. There is a way to do it, it could be lovely. Every waiver will say that. If you don't approve, don't do it. If you are uncomfortable, don't do it. If you're in a bar, if you're on a bus, if you're on a set, if you're in an audition and you are uncomfortable, don't do it. That is how we change things. And it's awful and it's uncomfortable, and they will ring you morning, noon and night, because that's what they did to me, going, but we need you, but switch the phone off. Call your agent, you switch the phone off. You call your mother, you switch the phone off. You call your father, you call your people, your crew, and you realign with who you are and what you do and why you did this. And hang tight, and as they say, this too shall pass. But those things, because it's not like anything creative, it's not a cakewalk. It's never a cakewalk for anybody. And if you don't arrive ready to say no, and again, I say that standing on a set as a white cis woman, I can only imagine how hard it would be to be a woman of colour, to be, again, a gay woman, a transgender woman, whatever it may be, where you're going, but there's only like 8% of the parts are for me, and maybe I'll never work again, and how terrifying that is. You cannot let your career be run by fear. And I do think that women, like we are afraid to just stand up and go, no, 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 no. And then there's 2 other words that you can use when it gets really hard, but I don't think I'm allowed to say them. Just say.
That was so insightful. That was, wow. So true though, and you made me realise the word fear is something that drives a lot of our decisions. A lot of the time it's fear that makes you act tough, it's fear that makes people treat you badly, it's fear that makes people try to control you, it's all fear.
I fear they're right and I'm wrong, I'm too this and too that, I'm too big, I'm too small, I'm too black, I'm too white, my teeth are too crooked, my nose is too this. It's bull. You are exactly enough, and you arrive at that and you are damn sure of it, and you don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And all of us have to do it, and we have to do it for each other as well, that regardless, you stand and you go, yeah, and even if Ocean's 13 is a pile of rubbish, we are at a point where we have to just stand together. There is no other way to do it. We go, you know what, we'll get down to the nitty-gritty, and in 10 years' time, when all female films are allowed to be awful, then we don't have to go to them. But at the minute, they're not allowed to be awful, so we have to go to them, and we have to put our money in them, because whether you like it or not, male directors are allowed fail. Male writers are allowed fail. Male actors are allowed fail. Females are not. We have to be brilliant. It has to be your Greta Gerwig with your Oscar. It has to be like that you are up there and you are doing it brilliantly, or you don't get to do it. We don't get to fail. So at the minute, we have to stand for each other and go, I'm going to put my money there, because that's what talks.
But it's also really interesting when it also happens in a really organic way and is still incredible. So if you take, for example, at the Barbican, they had the Basquiat exhibition, and they were really afraid of doing it because they were like, who is going to like this artist that I've loved for most of my life? And then it's actually the biggest ever show that they've ever had at the Barbican in the history. And we, as people of colour, didn't need to talk about it, because we just went. We just turned up. And we didn't have to tweet and say, let's make sure we turn up because we knew that we would, and not just us, but also, I mean, everybody was there. It's the same with the Soul of the Nation exhibition. There was lots of umming and ahhing for years about whether or not something like that could happen. It's the same with Girls Trip. It's the same with Black Panther. It's the same, like, we actually, as black people, we are finding actually we don't need to say, can we all make sure that we go to Black Panther? Because we are like, can you all just make sure you release the tickets soon enough and that enough theatres are showing it? Like, that's your job, is to make sure that enough places are showing it and that we can all get a ticket, we can all get to see it multiple times, some people 3 times already.
Me. I've seen it 3 times.
But what's really interesting is last night I went to see The Brothers' Size. It's everybody.
Such fun last night.
You sat at the front, at the bottom on the left-hand side.
Was that
I did see you.
young bitch?
Yeah.
I saw
did
that the other
actually
day as
see
well.
you.
Yeah.
Wearing a yellow jacket.
Yeah,
I'm literally wearing the same thing again.
And your friend had some flowers and went upstairs.
She
somewhere
did.
Else.
Yeah, she bought me those for Valentine's
I'm really
Day.
observant.
Right.
I saw you.
Weird. Yeah. How weird. Anyway.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm stalking you. I actually don't even know. I just noticed you because of where you were sitting and I saw your friend and I was like, oh, that Valentine.
I love that you know
went
that
off
Claire
by
is.
themselves. But listen, I love stories. So I create this whole story about how you had to book your tickets separately and then you met her and then...
I queued in that returns queue for like 2.5 hours, 3
Are
hours.
you one of those people?
One of those people.
So anyway,
yeah.
I bought a ticket for me and my husband before, and so we were sat next to each other. But no, we went last night, and it was just full of everybody, including us, and it was amazing. And the thing that I thought about it was like, this is really organic, and this is a point in which we want to get to, where we don't have to say you need to go and see this because you are X, Y, and Z person. It's just that if you make something that's amazing, if you absolutely do your best, I believe that it will come. And when you say we are enough, our stories are enough, our stories are there to be heard, the audience follows suit. And in publishing, that's with British, Afua Hirsch's book. We've already seen it with The Good Immigrant by Nicola Schickler, edited by Nicola Schickler. Rennie Edo Lodge's Why I No Longer Need to Talk to White People About Race, or I No Longer Want to Talk to White People About Race. We're seeing it with all of these books, some of my books that are coming out over the next year. We're seeing like amazing traction of people just saying, I'm ready for these stories. And we're just like, we were always ready for it, and thanks for joining in our conversation. But so whilst I do agree, like, it's great to have that dialogue on Twitter of people saying, let's be part of something. I also think when it's organic, there's something that's so magical, because you're saying, see, look, you bring the brilliance, you bring the story, you bring something that's utterly, like with gal-dem. It's like, it's so clear, like thousands of people love gal-dem, and it's like all they needed was just someone like Liv and the rest of the crew to say here are stories from our perspective, and everybody loves gal-dem. Everybody loves it. It's so empowering. I think when it's organic, to me, that's at its most powerful. When we try and contrive it, and I think that, I know you're going to move on to intersectionalism, but like for me, that's sort of mainly the difference between kind of white feminism and intersectional feminism. And as an intersectionalist, then it's when you don't try and I think we're just a lot more organic rather than trying to emulate what white men are doing. And for me, I'm not really that interested in what white men are doing, but I'm really interested in what everybody is doing and how can we make the best of all of those voices and bring them to everybody. Whereas I feel like a lot of the discussions around white feminism is sort of trying to match your men, and I'm like, I'm really excited to slay in our own lane and then bring the audiences to that.
Something that, when you're interested in saying about how the audience last night was everyone.
Everyone.
I was sort of last year helping cast the film, and we put a casting call out for a woman. We didn't mention what race she had to be, we didn't mention what age she had to be, there was nothing about what she had to look like. All we said that she had to be from London, and that it was to be working class. That was the idea of the character. And then it was all her personality traits of who she was. and we deliberately didn't put anything to do with race and or sort of whether she was straight, gay, anything. And we had 2 black women apply, and everyone else was white. And we went, what are we doing wrong? We put this out on every platform that we could try and put it out to try and access as many people as we could, deliberately not making it minute to one person. And I hope that we are going forward with that. I'm going, why? Why did women of colour, why would they not apply? Is it because we didn't put, often in casting you'll see all ethnicities welcome or BAME welcome. And we sort of didn't feel that we wanted to do that. So we were sort of in a position going, I hope we are moving forward in that you empower yourselves to apply for that sort of stuff, and hopefully don't look at these things and think that is a white woman's role, because that's who we got. And that is, I don't know what it was that said about it that was a white woman's role, and no one ever said anything, but I hope that people do empower themselves to apply
But that's
for
why you
these
have
things.
to be invited to the table.
That's it, and I don't want to have to do that. You know?
But actually, that is exactly what we have to do.
Okay.
Like that is kind of the problem. Is that you know what I recognise is that there's not many people like us. You know, we get to do what we're going to do because what we're doing because we have, for whatever reasons those are, have pushed through those boundaries and those barriers to get to where we are. And like I said, I've never apologised for being a black woman. Like I'm literally like, it's just so unlucky for you that you're not. I mean, I really have that attitude. I have that attitude more than feeling as, I mean, I can't, it's like I don't even have the words to describe how much I would have never apologised to that. And I'm a publisher and I have lots of words. And it's like, you know, language is my thing, and I just cannot tell you like my immense pride. So when someone doesn't see it of like that brilliance, I'm literally like, oh my God, I feel really sorry for you. I feel really sorry for you, but I know that most people don't feel like that. And most black people don't feel like that. And especially most black women do not feel like that. So actually what does need to happen is that we do need to send out a very explicit message and saying, you are absolutely welcome. In fact, we want you. Because there's no ambiguity in the world in which we're walking in as women of colour. There is absolutely no ambiguity. It's very clear that there is a white world, there is a black world, there is men and there is women, and somehow we have to all come together. But if you don't say, come to me, I'm ready for you. And with my imprint, that's what I'm saying on a daily basis. Like, I am here for you. And if people can't hear that, they're not going to come.
Yeah.
Because we have to be invited in, because otherwise the assumed is the norm, which is a heteronormative, white, female or male perspective.
I totally agree. I think me running my own business taught me a lot, because I've been doing it independently for 2 years now. I used to work for Google doing the events, and it's the same old thing. It's like, when are you going to go independent? It's now or never. And then things happened at home, and I just thought, we'll just take the leap now. And if you don't have passion, and if you don't have the confidence that you're talking about, and the drive, you won't do it. So we can have all the platforms, all the people telling us come, all the businesses saying, you know, we want that tick the boxes that tell you to come, but if you don't have the confidence, and if you don't have the drive, and if you don't have the want to do it, no one's going to do it for you. And I kind of feel like in a world that tells you you're not good enough, you can't do it actually, you know, and there's not many examples that look like you that are doing it. You kind of just go into this cocoon of, oh, maybe I'll try some, or you dim your light, if that makes sense. You kind of shy away. Like even just now speaking here, I'm rattled. I do not do public speaking. I can't. I'm living.
You're doing amazing. What? I
But
can't believe it.
it's something that I've had to consciously tell myself that these are the things that I need to do in order to move forward. You know, I see like I've worked with Antonia for ages, and she's always doing these great things, and I'm just like, I want her confidence. Or I'm looking, like, first time I'm meeting you, and I'm like, how are you speaking so loud? I'm just like, I want to be able to do, it's basic, but it's just something that, you know, I'm always, it's not me, it's just like, I can't do that. And I'm just like, it's actually a checklist that I have to tell myself daily. So if that's what you're doing on that front, let alone in the wider world, in the business, in how you run businesses, like, you're not taught to run businesses, you're not taught to manage finance, you're not taught all these key things that elite white men do in their secret society meetings daily. How little old me from Stratford. Like, so I've had to actively go out and give myself those tools and those skills to kind of say, okay, well, and even if I make mistakes, I make mistakes daily, and I'm just like, well, okay, I've learned from that. Okay, what else am I like? I just see it as I want more, and it just makes me a better person for yourself, and you need to understand why you're doing it for yourself. So I feel like passion and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Antonia, you're part of gal-dem, and personally, I admire gal-dem so much. Like, not just as a publication, but as a group of women, where each of you, aside from contributing to gal-dem, on your own, you're doing such amazing things for yourself as well. My question for you is, and this is so relevant for other women who feel like they want to start a female collective or to start, you know, bringing women together in their own way. How do you guys manage to maintain balance amongst yourselves? Because I can understand that when you're creative, you're passionate, and that can sometimes lead to, you know, clashing of ideas or even clashing of ethos. How do you guys manage to just recenter and keep it together?
I think, because when it first started, people were in Bristol, people were in London, people were at universities all over, and then people started joining from like other parts of the world. Everything was just on Facebook chat, Facebook messages, Facebook groups, emails, like literally behind the screen, WhatsApp group messages, iMessage groups. It was just all too much. And I think in like the last, so it's been going for like 2 years now, and like in the last year we've tried to focus a lot more on being efficient. So getting like different apps and stuff that we can use as opposed to like bombarding each other on Facebook messages and just like overly doing twice the work in an inefficient sort of way. But I think for a lot of like people who are working in the core team, so for example, I'm the music editor, but I also work in radio. And I've always pretty much worked in music ever since I was at sixth form or whatever, in some sort of way, one way or another. And I think a lot of the people who work in gal-dem, their main hustle, as well as gal-dem being our side hustles, like they sort of marry and go well with each other and complement each other and like allow us to do what we do. It does get a lot, it is quite intense. Like, for example, even at the end of last year, I was just like cocooning myself, like going into hibernation mode, trying to focus on work, trying to take like a backseat from gal-dem for a little bit. And I was just like feeling really demotivated, thinking like, can I still do both of these at the same time? I have all of this passion, like you were saying, like how can I make the best use of this without like burning myself out? And I literally just took pretty much the whole of December off gal-dem sort of stuff, just to realign and refocus and set some intentions for 2018. And I think since I've done that, like I'm feeling better about myself, I'm feeling motivated again, and feeling inspired to motivate a lot of our contributors to be excited about all of the cool stuff that's going to be coming our way this year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so true, man. I hear you. I also feel like, because an earlier point was made about, you know, asking for a coffee when you come across someone that you're inspired by, or even trying to arrange a meeting with them. In the past, I've tried to do that. It's worked sometimes, but it's not always going to work. And I think from experience, I've learned that why it doesn't always work out when you go up to someone and ask them for their time is because they are busy, one. And number two, if you're going to ask someone for their time, it's worth you finding a way to offer them value that they feel like they can't get elsewhere. You don't have to literally offer them the same value they're offering you, but it's something like, you know, if you figure out what it is that they're trying to do. So let's say you come across someone that's a motivational speaker. You're really motivated by what they do, you love what they do, you just want to learn how to be like them, but you don't know how to phrase that or even position yourself next to them. What you could do is look at the skills you have and be like, okay, what can I do to make this person's life easier for them? while still learning from them? Because they don't know that your plan is to learn from them. It's not necessarily a bad thing to want to learn from someone, but at the same time, what are you giving them in return? So let's say you have, skills of being a videographer, even though you do want to be a motivational speaker as well, or you want to be able to grow in some sort of way. You'd be like, this person's a motivational speaker. I see that they go to various venues and they speak, but I notice that they don't have someone that records stuff for them behind the scenes on their Instagram, or some content for their website. I looked at their website lacks some certain content. Here's what I can do for you. Because when they hear that from you and they're like, oh, so you've really looked me up and you've actually given me some constructive feedback, maybe you could actually help me out. And then from there you build more of an organic relationship with them, rather than being like, hi, I really like you, can you do stuff for me?
I had this the other day, like someone called me up. I was just at my desk and someone called me and I answered the phone. And I'm at my desk a lot, but I don't often take phone calls, so I find it distracting. And we're in an open plan office. So this guy called me and he's just like, yeah, is that Sharmaine? And I'm like, hi. Hi. And I don't want to be like, hi, I'm like actually a publisher at a major publishing house, like you can't call me. But I was like,
how did you get my number?
He was like, yeah, so you met my sister the other day and she said to call you, and I was like, oh, okay, hi, so what can I do for you? He's like, I've got an idea for a book, and I was just wondering, like, do you want to publish it?
Are you serious?
And I was like, okay, so, all right, so, I don't even, I'm literally just thinking, what? I mean, so tell me the idea, like, you've been bold enough to call, so. And he's like, and I was like, do you know what I do? And he's like, I just heard you were a publisher. And I was like, do you know what a publisher does? I was like, did you Google me or Dialogue Books or anything to do? And he was like, nah. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, how much time do I give him? And then I was also thinking, oh, because he's a boy, he just thinks he can literally call me and be like,
yo, babes.
Yo. And I was like, so anyway, I'm actually not your fan. I'm Sharmaine, and I'm a publisher, and I'm actually a professional, and so do you want to send me a proposal? Do you want to send me something? Do you want to give me a synopsis, an outline, like the W's, the like why, what, when, And he was just like, oh no, I just thought I'd send you some pictures. And I was like, okay. So then I was sort of continue this conversation, and then at some point I was like, how old are you? And he was like, yeah, how old do you think I am? And I was like,
what?
No, like I'm literally not trying to like chirp to you in my open plan office. I'm actually just wondering how much of an opportunity I should be giving you, considering that you just basically phoned me with no information, no research, no nothing, other than just like, I'm just gonna call her. And then he was like, a few years ago I wouldn't have been brave enough to pick up the phone to you, but now I feel like I'm brave, so I've picked up the phone. And I was like, okay, but what work did you do in the middle of that? Like between not being able to do it and then phoning me, I was like, what work did you do? Because in order to pick up anyway. So he was actually like 34 and I'm 36. So then I was like, yo, listen, you can't be phoning me. So then I just switched it up and was like, listen, you can't be phoning me as a 34-year-old when I'm 36. Like talking to me like this, you need to go back, do your research, come correct, we'll have the conversation. And I just had to like switch it all up because I was like, you're too old, and like obviously this, to be in that scenario with me, like he just didn't know. And I was like, this is because you're a man and you literally thought you could just phone me. You felt empowered and entitled enough, whereas a woman wouldn't do that. And it just, yes, know your information before you contact someone and understand what that person's job is, what their time allows them to do. I am not more important than you, like 100%, I am not more important than anybody, but my time is divided in a way that's quite specific because my time is for my authors and for the books that I publish. Like that's what I'm here to do. And so if you're gonna come to me, then you have to think about what that involves if you actually want me to publish your work.
Yeah, and also, don't ask people questions that you know you can Google. Even if it requires you going into page 12 of Google, read stuff, like, read up on it, and like be able to offer a perspective too, not just asking them questions like, what do you do, what's your day-to-day like contribute, give a stimulated conversation.
Yeah, that's what it was. There was no contribution. There was nothing. He couldn't give me anything, and it was really hard because you know, I do give a lot of my time, and I'm really happy to do that. And I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to make anyone think that I think that I'm more important because of my job. Like I'd hate the idea of that. But I do also need you to help me. And not try and chirps me on the phone when I'm in an open plan office.
Yeah, and like every single person in this room, both panelists and guests that are here to have a listen, we all have a perspective, and that's what makes each of us different, and that's what makes each of us really valuable. So we can all learn something from each other. So it doesn't even matter if it's Sharmaine speaking to any of you in this audience, or if it's you coming up to me, or any of us. Like, the fact that you have a perspective means that you matter, and that alone is enough to start a conversation that could turn into, you know, let's have a coffee, or, you know, let's continue this conversation, you know, in email. That's how to do it, rather than being like, here's my business card, let's talk. It's not like that at all anymore. I think it's more of like, what can you do to make yourself unforgettable to that person? What can you offer them? Like, you have something to offer. You probably just don't believe that what you have to offer is valuable, yeah? And that all comes back to yourself once again, like believing that you're a valuable person, and believing that you deserve to be here, and that you deserve what you're asking for. Whether that person that you approach agrees with you or not doesn't mean you're going to be like, oh man, maybe is it because of me? Like, did I say something wrong? No, maybe they're just not interested. That's fine, because you're still an interesting person, whether someone's interested in you or not.
Although I don't know that he was.
I think
I have published books from people who I've just met. Like I have one author that I met at a party, and he came up to me and we started chatting, and then his book just sounded really great. So I read it over the weekend, and it's a all Asian cast crime thriller, and it's just amazing. Ooh. It's called Rugs and Blood. It's coming out in September, and you know, I just a little plug. Probably registered that. Sorry, called Amma Anwar. And it's absolutely fantastic. And I read it over a weekend and was just like, this novel is great. And so when I met him he came in 2 days later, he'd self-published it. I was like, why didn't other people pick it up? And he was just like, basically they just didn't like that. They loved the writing. They just didn't like the fact that it was an all Asian cast. And I was like,
surprising.
I was like, that's not a problem for me. Like, actually, that's exactly what I'm here for. So now he has a 2-book deal. It's really exciting, and you know, he's already won awards. Like, he's a brilliant writer. So you know, but because he came with something, then I was more than like that's what I'm here for. I'm not just here for the chat. I'm actually here to do the work. So you know, so I don't mind things that are unsolicited, but you've got to tell me the story.
And accepting as well, there are no shortcuts, or like in any field. I would put money on all of us here. Yeah. Like, you have really great moments and really awful moments, and like, you make sure that when the moment presents itself, which it sounds like it did for that individual, that you arrive ready. Like, you arrive with the work done. You're not scrabbling to keep up. And also, like, it's kind of part of the fun of it as well. If you do anything creative, like, it's the slog. Like, that's what kind of makes you good. And you see it as well. Like, you'd swear that we'd have learned our lesson, that we've 15 years worth of the X Factor to watch back. Like, nobody from the first season is anywhere doing anything worth doing, as far as I can tell. Sorry, that could be totally wrong. I could be completely diminishing somebody's existence there. But certainly, like, you create success. Like, you decide what it is, and it's like, I know I've had days where getting out of bed, having a shower, and not crying is a successful day. And genuinely,
not crying,
highly successful day that for a long time. And that's okay. Like, you do it in like increments, and it means that you arrive ready. And same thing if you're writing a book. You don't sit down and write a book. You write a page, and then the next day you write another page.
I love that. I'm going to use that.
Like, you know, it's why you have rehearsal periods. Nobody shows up going, ta-da, I'm here. And if they do, they're not the person you want. Generally, you want to run really far from those people. Like, you arrive whole and a bit knackered and a bit like, it's fine if you say no, because I know that, like, I'm going to go and do what I have to do and come back better. And like, but certainly don't, at 34, don't be the 34-year-old going, yeah, what? Why isn't it working? Like, don't do that. Just don't do that. Do anything. Just don't do that. Like, there are no shortcuts. Just work, and don't do all of the work. Like, don't try to do all of it. Just the next right thing. And sometimes the next right thing is eating the next meal so you're not an emotional, erratic mess, or not eating the next meal if you tend to just stuff down the feelings, or, you know, it's just the next right thing. And then, I don't know, like maybe it is that you just choose to like,
Regain
a George
control.
Michael, I gotta have faith, like, it's gonna, like, it is gonna be what it's meant to be. Not everybody gets to be Obama. That's okay, because if everybody was Obama, we wouldn't have Beyonce or George Michael or me or Chitty or any of us. I don't know. I watched this Freedom documentary and I'm a bit like, but it is like, it's because same thing, like employers or agents or directors or casting directors, they're not looking for the next Adele. They're not looking for the next Steven Spielberg. They're looking for the next, what's your name? They're not looking for the next Ella. That's what they want. They want shortcut Ella in big lights that they're going to make billions of pounds off whatever way they do it. They want everyone to know Ella, and that's Ella's face, and that's what Ella looks like, and that's her brand, and she only wears white trainers. That's what they want. They're not looking for Adele or Kendrick Lamar or whatever. They're looking for the next thing. And the only way that that happens is if you show up exactly as you are, Ella. Because otherwise, if you show up pretending to be Kelly Goff, you're in real trouble because they're looking for Ella. So it's like just
That's so true.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Oh my God,
getting old,
Kelly.
learned a few
I like
things.
to say, create your own lane and stay in your own lane.
Yeah,
Stay in
man.
there. Yeah.
So true.
Like, you don't have to just go for the conventional, I'm going to be a
Yeah.
teacher, doctor. If that's your thing, cool. But find a way to create your own craft. Like, think outside of the box. Like, people are becoming entrepreneurs because of Instagram and social media and whatever. But, you know, use those platforms to raise whatever you're doing, but actually live it. Actually work for it. Actually do the work in private and then share it once you've created it. And that's what I did.
What about you, Antonia? What's worked for you so far?
Literally stole my point.
Sorry. Articulate it.
But
Go
no,
for it.
I will second that. Stay in your own lane and create it, because if there is a path that's out there that doesn't quite match up with what you want to do or how you see yourself, then only you can make that happen. So, and like, I feel like gal-dem is a testament to that, and everyone who is a part of that we've all done it together. We've not known how to run a publication. None of us have like gone and done a masterclass at the Guardian and then come back and brought back all of our secrets. We've all patching it all together to chip in, and yeah, it's working so far, I hope.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it is. What about you? What's worked for you so far?
To be honest, everything everyone has just said, I sort of don't know if I can top it. I think it is so much about being in your own lane and not worrying about what I think often people say, you know, Google what that person you admire's path was and do what they did. But there's just no way you're going to be able to do that. If they're older, they've gone through different mediums, they've gone through different courses, different things. There's no way you can do that. So just enjoy finding your way. And I think it's so true that you just have to take it a step at a time. And yes, have your big picture and have your big goals, but don't overwhelm yourself with how the fuck you're going to get there. Just enjoy trying to work and to move and to meet people. And like you were saying, when some opportunities don't arrive in your lap, that's cool, because then you're open to another opportunity arriving in your lap that is meant for you. And just enjoy that and try and, like someone said a quote recently that was, how we live our days is how we live our life. And so just enjoy your days and make your days fulfilling, and how you get there will become your life.
Yes.
Oh
my
God.
This panel is so epic. Guys,
that
it's so
was like-
epic. Like, I'm actually shocked. Yeah. Like, I've learned so much from each and every one of you, and I'm so grateful. Do you guys have any questions?
Don't be shy.
What,
That
okay,
won't work.
what have you guys written down? I've seen some of you writing. Like, what have you learned today?
I need to think of who said that. Wasn't me that said that. I didn't come up with that.
I've got a question. So a lot of people here are quite young. What advice would you give to yourself when you were like a teenager and a young adult?
Okay, I'll start. Because I'm 23, so like I'm still probably older than you guys, but still, advice I'll give to maybe like 16 to 19-year-old me, it would be if you're that thing that you found that you're good at, which is just cackling on Twitter, find a way to turn that socializing skills you have and those skills you have of getting loads of retweets and turn that into a way of actually applying it in a way that will allow you to start making that presentable in a box so that you can go up to people and be like, this is actually a service. Like, I can actually turn this into a service. Because we have loads of skills, right? The problem with being skilled is that you don't believe your skills are good enough, so you don't think it's worth taking your skills seriously. I don't care if your skill is, getting loads of likes on Instagram. That's still a skill. Being able to sell tummy tea is a skill because, like, people like you enough to actually double tap that photo and probably even make a purchase from that. Of course, I don't agree with selling tummy tea because I think it's harmful to your body, but Instagrammers, whether we agree or not, are still skilled people. They found a way to make themselves marketable. They found a way to make money off being themselves. If someone in this room low-key secretly wants to be an Instagrammer or be an Instagram girl, go for it, but know yourself and make sure you're keeping yourself safe and looking after yourself offline and realizing that this stuff that you're doing online is all well and good, but eventually these platforms will eventually lose value or they will shut down. Same way Vine died. There was a time when Vine was the thing and there were people that have been millionaires from being Vine stars, but Vine's not around no more. So that could happen to Instagram, that could even happen to Twitter, where these apps just change completely. It's happened to Snapchat recently, apparently, where they've updated it and people don't like it anymore. So now people are leaving Snapchat and Snapchat is shook. So it goes to show that you have to make sure that your skills that you have, turn it into something that can be applied offline. Like, if I could go back and tell 17-year-old me to just be like, okay, so you're really good at, like, communicating with people and you're really good at being yourself. Can you, like, find a way to just, like, maybe do that when you go to job interviews, or apply that enthusiasm and belief in yourself to your work and believe that this piece of work you've created is good enough for you to actually start sending it out to people and being like, here's something I've made, please give me an opinion of it. So it's all about, definitely younger me needs to be more open to learning and welcome as much criticism as possible, as long as it's not coming from a malicious place or someone that just doesn't like you, but ask, what can I do to change this? Because that's the only way that you're going to grow and become the next higher level of yourself, by asking, what can I do to change this? Like, find the healthy way of just growing. That's what I would tell younger me. What about you guys?
I also think, I would also say, try and apply yourself to everything that you like. And I don't mean like go out and sell your soul, but anything that you enjoy, do it well and live it well. Like I feel like now I'm 30 and I only started doing what I actually loved recently. And I feel like I wasted my time trying to do the things that would make my mum.
You're 30?
Yeah.
I thought you were like 24 or something. I was probably talking to you like,
Like,
what's your skincare routine? That's my question for you.
No, but honestly, like my parents were like, you get a good job, stay there, make money, and give it back. Do you know what I mean?
Give it back to someone.
If that was the case, then I would have just stayed in my job. Do you know what I mean? But if you really enjoy something, work experience. If it's writing that you like, get an internship at a magazine, and then if that doesn't work, go on to something else. So by the time you get to a certain age, you would have experience in different fields. You can make the choices of what you like, what you don't like, and you can have an idea of which route you want to take. Don't also set like strict, rigid deadlines, or like, I need to be married by this time and have kids. And so therefore there's a pressure for you to be earning a certain paycheck. Like, I did work experience for the best part of 2 years working for free because I just loved the things that I was doing. I'm not saying that you should do that, but just whatever makes you happy, do it.
I was 16, 20 years ago, and so I was just trying to remember what that was like. But what I would definitely say to my 16-year-old self is to not be afraid of trying the things that you don't like, and to not be obsessed with the small things that happen in a day, like the comment that someone made or how someone made you feel. Like, the things that happen in a moment, just try and rise above to the bigger picture, basically. Like, your swan moment is yet to come, so just don't overthink the little bits. And because where people get stuck is that they tend to focus on those little things, and then they build up, and then you feel like you can't move. And so I think it's really important to also not, whilst you say like try the things that, you know, keep going with the things that you like, but also be open to the fact that you don't know what you like yet. And just because you're doing it doesn't mean that it's the right thing. And so just experiment. And I think especially as Londoners, we're so lucky that everything that we enjoy is in front of us, that we can now do anything that we want to do. But I think that there's also a danger of not being outside of your comfort zone and not pushing yourself and testing yourself, because you've kind of already narrowed what you like, what you don't like. Go and see films that you think you don't like. Go and read books of genres that you think you wouldn't like. Go to the theatre in areas that you think that would, you know, go to comedy, go to whatever it is that you think that you wouldn't like. Go and swim in the lakes in Hampstead Heath. You know, go and do things that you think you wouldn't like, because that's as valuable to you as what you do. That's what I would say.
Trust me. Yeah. I feel like you were talking to me there, because I tend to have that attitude to certain things I don't like. And it's only this very year that I've changed that. This year we're only just about started the second month. But I do agree that we tend to, I think it's that voice actually that you tell yourself that you don't like something, but secretly what you mean is that I'm not good at it.
Yeah,
I'm scared of it. I'm scared of it, yeah.
I think the way that I put it is, rather than doing what you like, if I had to give myself advice at 16, I would say choose love. So in everything, like there's a school of thought that everything in the world comes from either love or fear. And sometimes if we look at, I don't like swimming in the lakes in Hampstead Heath, it's not got nothing to do with liking or not liking. I'm afraid that my hair is going to get wrecked, or I'm going to have that muck mustache that I do get when I swim in the lakes in Hampstead Heath. And it's just fear. Choose love. That's the opposite of it. Same thing, you want to be an actor, I don't want to be, I don't like this, I don't like this part, I don't like my hair like this. It's not, you're just afraid to cut it, or you're afraid to choose love. I want the biscuit. Is it loving? Sometimes it is. Exactly. Sometimes it is. Not all the time. Sometimes it is. So I'd say choose love.
I'd say, sort of on that, to try your best is to not give a shit what other people think, and do you. Like, I'm working on that every single day, and I think it is so important to do you. You do you, because like everyone else is worrying about what they're up to, and they're not sitting there thinking, oh, she's that, or she's this, or she's that. Like, they're thinking about what's going on in their own head. So just let them do that, and you just think about what's going on in your path. Like the same thing, and try not to worry about what they're thinking. If you're at an event and you want to go talk to someone that is more important than you are and older than you are, and you are inspired by, just go and talk to them. Like, don't worry about whether or not someone else in your class or whatever is going to judge you for that. That doesn't matter, because in years to come, that'll be cool. That'll be good to do that.
Yeah.
So just you do what you want to do.
Totally agree. I've had so many moments where I've seen someone I really like, I look up to them like, oh my god, you're so cool. I go up to them and I tell them how cool they are, and then because they're so used to hearing it, they don't value it as much. But then the cool thing about life is that you get these moments where stuff turns around, and then they probably just approach you and they're like, I love what you do, keep it up. And it's like, you don't know how much I love you. You don't even know what this means. But then you play it cool, you're like, thank you so much. You know what, we should work on something one day. They're like, yeah. It's like, so it goes to show, believe in yourself, and you will have your happy ending if you believe in yourself. Totally. And yeah, have you guys got anything else to add as well?
One thing I'd say is like, don't overthink things, and don't think, like, I remember being 16, I'm 23 as well, and being that age, I remember thinking I did really bad in that test, like this is going to follow me around for the rest of my life, I'm never going to be able to shake this, this is the record for me now, like forever and ever and ever. It's not. Like, you can, even if you're not good in school, it doesn't matter, because there are things that outside of school that you might be good at. Academically, you might be great, but not great at socializing. But these are all things that you can work on, and the way you are right now isn't the way that you're forever going to be. You will evolve, you will grow. And as long as you want to grow and want to push yourself out of your comfort zone, you always will.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think what we can all learn from this today is that you have enough time to take your time. We're all scared of time, because time is the most valuable thing we have. It's more valuable than money. It's just because you can't hold on to it. But you have enough time, literally, to take your time and learn yourself. Like, you have have it. You're not in a hurry. There's no shortcut to finding yourself. There's no shortcut to learning how to do life right. No one's done it before. We're all literally doing it for the first time, and it's probably going to be our last time doing it. Sorry, guys. We're all going to die. The thing is, no, but I'm going to be grim here. We've been dying since we got here, right? We're all going to die. Some of us might die later than we think. Some of us might die sooner than we think. So what matters is that doing what you really want to do, knowing that you're going to die. Because if you think about it, yeah, we've got something like Make-A-Wish Foundation that exists, yeah, for people that are terminally ill. But what makes us any different to someone that's going to die in 2 weeks' time? They've just been told they're going to die in 2 weeks' time. So they get to go to Disneyland. So why wouldn't you
Go to Disneyland.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you go to Disneyland, or why wouldn't you do that thing that you've been scared to do, or why wouldn't you go to that event on your own and be like, none of my friends care, let me go on my own? Like, treat your life like you're literally terminally ill. And that's no offense to people that are terminally ill. No, I don't want it to sound funny or be like, making a joke of being terminally ill. What I'm trying to say is that we are all not guaranteed to see the end.
live your life, live every day as if it's your last.
Yeah, because you're not even guaranteed to see the end of today, let alone tomorrow. So with that being said, no, but we have to be so conscious of time and really giving ourselves as much time to be like, I want to be here, I deserve to be here, and I'm going to do things that feed my soul and enrich me.
And on the basis time, that's all the time you have today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So funny. I think you should time this and live every day like it's your last.
Not treat your life like a